talk a little UFC 198, which is a stack card from top to bottom. We've got a debut going on as well. We got a lot of UFC news and notes. Dave Sholler, the VP of the public relations for the UFC, local guy, as this card is in Brazil. Are you in Brazil?
I am not. I'm actually in my office in Las Vegas. After 8 years here with the company, I actually sent one of my colleagues down to Brazil. Love Brazil, great atmosphere.
I was going to say, you lucky dog.
Yeah, after a week's vacation in beautiful South Jersey, I decided to catch up here in the office. But just had the weigh-ins, Mike, 15,000 fans for a free weigh-in in Curitiba, Brazil. Tomorrow we're expecting a record 45,000 fans in a soccer stadium there. The atmosphere is electric. Brazil, kind of the birthplace of mixed martial arts, the birthplace of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Really special moment for our company.
Yeah, and a lot of guys on the card that would indicate that as well. And it's a really deep card, right? I mean, usually some of the recent events, you've had some really high top-level main events, but this seems like from top to bottom, a very diverse and deep card.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the Fox Sports 1 prelims, which start at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. You have Damian Maia versus Matt Brown in the welterweight division. The winner of that fight will be very well positioned for a shot at the championship. Damian Maia, a former 185-pound contender, now just wreaking havoc at 170. And Matt Brown, who at one point in the last few years was on a 7-fight win streak. So what a great appetizer that fight is to the main card, which features names like Shogun Rua, Chris Cyborg, Vitor Belfort, Jacare Souza, Fabricio Verdum, Stipe Miocic, and a name to watch out for. He kicks off the main card, a Brazilian star, young kid coming up the ranks, Warley Alves. He takes on Brian Barberena. Brian Barberena fresh off his victory over Sage Northcutt. That is a fight that could fly under the radar but absolutely deliver.
Verdum is your number one heavyweight. This is the guy, right? And in sports, heavyweights are the guys. He's the guy right now, right? He's the best heavyweight you got.
He is the best heavyweight in the world. And, you know, right now is an interesting point in our sport. We've talked about this at length on your show, Mike. You know, when you talk about Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor and Holly Holm and Miesha Tate, those names are getting a lot of the mainstream buzz. But Fabricio Verdum is probably, with a win on Saturday night, the greatest heavyweight in our sports history. He'll have had wins over Cain Velasquez, Fedor Emelianenko. He's beaten Travis Brown, Minotauro Nogueira, Mark Hunt. This guy is just been murdering the division. And here's the best part. His skills continue to get better. Primarily a jiu-jitsu player, very, very well accomplished on the ground at 38 years old. He is really, really working with Rafael Cordero, a famed coach out of California, refined his striking game and become a complete mixed martial artist. He's got a really, really tough test ahead of him, though. Stipe Miocic from Cleveland, you know, a lot of buzz about LeBron James and company, but Stipe is the type, with his power, he could be the first Cleveland champion in a long, long time.
UFC Vice President of Public Relations, Dave Sholler, is with us, UFC 198. Now, the middleweight bout, Souza and Belfort, the winner of that fight could really set themselves up for a mega card going up down the future.
Yeah, the winner of this fight should potentially compete against the winner of UFC 199's main event, which is our champion at the middleweight division, Luke Rockhold, against former champion Chris Weidman. Vitor Belfort's been in the sport since he was 19 years old. He is indeed the phenom, 25-11, but his record is deceiving. He has beaten a who's who of names across multiple divisions. Against Jacare Souza, the number 2 ranked contender in the world, this is a guy that if the fight gets to the ground, he will find a way to put you in a bad position. This is absolutely one of the best middleweight fights we've done in a long, long time. And I think when you think about this fight here at 199 or 198 and then the main event of 199, the 185-pound division, Mike, red hot right now.
So Cyborg's making her debut. Is it far-fetched to think, and she's a heavy favorite in this 198 card, is it far-fetched that her name will enter right into the Holm Rousey Tate discussion with a win?
Well, here's the thing. She's never made 140 pounds until about an hour ago. This is a catchweight fight tomorrow night. She made 139 pounds. For her to compete for a world championship in the bantamweight division with the names that you just mentioned, she has to be 135 pounds.
Right.
But for the first time in her career, working with George Lockhart, who is a very, very well-respected sports nutritionist, she made the weight with ease. She looked healthy. She looked hydrated. She didn't look gaunt, as sometimes you may see with athletes cutting, an extreme amount of weight. This is a big fight for her tomorrow night in her hometown of Curitiba. Just a tremendous moment. And you wonder, the emotions going in, all eyes on Cyborg, how she'll handle that. She's got a very tough, very game opponent in Leslie Smith. But knowing that she made, Mike, the weight so easily, you have to think that gives her incredible confidence that 135 is not that far off.
All right, her debut, Chris Cyborg, it's UFC 198. A lot of stuff around the UFC this week, possible sale rumors out there. Dave, your comment was all over SportsCenter this week. Dana White's been on the radio. What more can you tell, of course, a lot of the local listeners who know who you are? Straight shooter, what do you got is the UFC? And we've heard the Sixers owners could be one of the names interested.
Yeah, listen, as I told SportsCenter and many others, as a private company, we don't delve too deeply into, our active business discussions. But I'll tell you this. I've been here, as I mentioned earlier, 8 years, and Lorenzo and Frank and Dana, our owners, are so well respected in the business community. They've had many offers to sell the company. They've had opportunities to take on investors, as we did in 2009 with Flash Entertainment. So, of course, these guys are always going to be having discussions about ways to grow our business. But I think, reports that we're selling the whole business or anything like that, as Dana mentioned, are a bit far-fetched at the moment. We're going to continue to look at ways to improve our business, whether that means partnerships with other organizations or new investors or whatever it may be. But it's a great time to be involved in the UFC business. We're growing exponentially, particularly in the international markets. Dana had a funny comment on one of the ESPN airwaves. A couple of weeks ago, there was a report that we were trying to sell the company for $6 billion, and then a couple of days ago they said $4 billion. How do we lose $2 billion in 2 weeks?
Could you make that much money if McGregor fought Mayweather?
There'd be a lot of money at stake. Listen, I think I've learned in this business that you never say never, but there's an incredible amount of barriers that would prevent that type of fight from happening. And I think you also have to be realistic that, the sports are different. Boxing is a lot different than mixed martial arts. If this was a mixed martial arts fight, I don't favor Floyd Mayweather very much. But in a boxing match, he's probably one of the best boxers, certainly of our era and maybe of all time. So pump the brakes.
Well, I know you being a former boxing guy yourself. We used to have a lot of boxing conversation.
We sure did.
Would that fight even be a something to talk about?
I mean, listen, if that fight somehow, some way, some shape or form came together, it would be one of the biggest combat sports events in history. I mean, you're talking about one of the best in MMA.
Well, is that a combat sport or is that a sweet science?
Well, that's the other thing. Everybody keeps saying they're going to fight. No one has told me how they're going to fight. Is it MMA? Is it boxing? Is it kickboxing? Are they going to go visit Vince McMahon and maybe get it done in the squared circle? Whatever it may be. I will tell you this. Floyd Mayweather retired at 49-0, and Conor McGregor is seeking a rematch with Nate Diaz. In this sport, you never say never. Remember a few years ago, Mike, and we talked about this on your airwaves. We had James Toney fighting Randy Couture. James Toney, Dana White around the country for years trying to get a fight in the octagon. Never say never. I think it's a bit far-fetched at the moment. But here's the great thing about both Floyd and Conor. They know how to get you talking about them, don't they?
Sure do. And one guy we didn't touch on or talk about is Anderson Silva. He was on this card and has to get off because of pretty unfortunate circumstances for Anderson Silva.
Yeah, and I think I had a chance to catch up not only with Anderson but his doctor 2 days ago, and it was a situation where he was experiencing some really severe abdominal pain, started having some vomiting, and got to the point where he realized he needed medical attention. He had inflammation in his gallbladder, which led to him needing to have that gallbladder removed. Had a chance to talk to UFC medical consultant Dr. Davidson yesterday and the day before. The standard recovery time for an injury of this nature nature is 4 to 6 weeks. I don't think it's unrealistic as long as Anderson doesn't hit any rough patches here with his recovery, that he'll be back in August or September.
Dave Sholler here. UFC 198 is this weekend, and then, of course, June 4th is 199. BJ Penn on the top of that card right now. We'll dive into that one at some point as well. And what is your fight of the night? Which one are you looking forward to? I know they're all good. Give me one.
Well, listen, and I think from now on we're going to call this the Dave Sholler Carson Wentz fight of the night prediction. And I think tomorrow night when we look at this card, I've got my eyes zeroed in on two fights. I'm going to give you a 2-for-1 here. I really like that Warley Alves Brian Barberena fight, and Damian Maia versus Matt Brown, which, a reminder, is live and free on Fox Sports 1 as an appetizer to the main event and the main card on pay-per-view, 8 p.m. In the East, 5 p.m. in the West. Damian Maia versus Matt Brown, a really, really pivotal fight at 170 pounds.
You see what the PR guy did? He wants you to watch the Fox fight, so you buy the pay-per-view.
I mean, listen, there's
I
a
see
little
what
bit
you
of
did there,
science
Sholler.
Here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, and I absolutely want you to do both.
Dave Sholler, UFC Vice President of Public Relations, UFC 198 on pay-per-view, the undercard, the prelims, they call them, on Fox 1. And we'll be watching, man. We'll talk to you soon, pal.
Always appreciate you, Mike. Thank you.